the blueprint to getting lean and strong from home. If you want to get in great shape from home with just a few 30-minute workouts 3 or 4 times a week with a kettlebell or two, this is the video for you. Okay. If you're looking for distractions or you're just scrolling around looking for entertainment, this is not the video for you. Okay. So if you're serious, then I recommend closing other tabs, expanding the video. I'll try and make this as concise as possible, but let's get into it. All right. So why you're not lean and strong right now, right? You're not lean because you're consuming too much processed food. These foods are designed to be addictive. They're designed for you to overeat, so you buy more. And they're just complete garbage. All right. You can look up the reasons why this is. There's tons of articles and there's tons of studies now on why processed food is bad for you. I shouldn't have to explain that. But essentially, this leads to you overeating and having excess body fat, which is why you're not lean, right? You're not strong because you're not consistently pushing yourself and you're not consistently working out, right? Some of you, if you are working out consistently, you might actually be pretty strong, but you're not lean enough, right? So vast majority of people I work with are either not lean and not strong, or they're not lean, but they are strong, right? So the strength is actually less of a concern a lot of the times, right? But you want to be both. You want to be lean, you want to be healthy, you want to be strong. So the blueprint, all right, the 3 pillars, and this, you probably already know this, but I need to go into detail on how you can actually maximize each of these areas efficiently, is the workouts, the nutrition, and the lifestyle, right? When you have all 3 aligned, when you take care of all 3, you can get in great shape, you're going to feel good, and something that you can sustain, okay? So we're going to talk about the workouts very briefly, the nutrition, it's probably the biggest thing for most of you watching this, and then touch on lifestyle to wrap things up. All right, so the workouts. A lot of you watch my past content. You've seen things like the Super Mean 15. And right now I'm talking about the Core 4. These are just fancy names I use to make it fun, to make it something easy to remember, right? The Core 4, these are the most important movements. Squats, swings, push-ups, and rows, all right? Squats are your lower body push. Swings are your lower body and also some upper body pull. Push-ups are upper body push, and rows are upper body pull, okay? These are the essential 4 movements you're doing from home. If you're a gym bro, you could replace push-ups with bench, or you could replace rows with pull-ups. Pull-ups are great too. But essentially, these types of movements, if you're doing all 4 of these in one workout 3 times a week, or you split it up, squats and push-ups on one day, swings and rows another day, push-pull, whatever, upper body, lower body, then you're going to be doing the most effective workouts, okay? So if you're a brand new beginner, you can just do all 4 of these 3 times a week, do 10 reps of each. And then as things get too easy or you improve, you get stronger, right? We talked about earlier, you can start to add more reps, right? So I recommend adding reps with swings and squats first, and then push-ups, rows, depends, okay? If you go to my Instagram, there's more examples on that in the captions. But essentially, if you hit all 4 of these movements, right, and you go to failure, you're going to build muscle. But even if you don't quite go to failure, maybe you're not used to working out consistently, even if you just have a good workout and you're lean enough, you're going to be relatively strong and you're going to look good, right? And most importantly, you're going to be healthy, okay? Especially if you're a man watching this. Doing these things, these compound movements, are essential for your testosterone, especially as you age. Okay. I do have all types of people who watch my content, but the vast majority are men in their late 30s and then 40s, 50s, and even 60s. Right. So if you're in that age range and you're a man, you definitely need to be doing all of these. Right. Of course, if you're a woman watching this, I'd still recommend you do all these as well. We're human beings after all. These are the essential movements. But especially if you're a guy, and you're just going on runs, you do some cardio here and there, start doing these compound movements. Okay. I call it the Core 4. Like I said, again, you can do all 4 in the same day, 3 times a week, or you can do upper, lower, push, pull, etc. On my Instagram, there's tons of different variations and ways to split it up. But if you're brand new, just do all 4 of them in one workout. Okay. So that's the basic way to work out. And if you see on my Instagram or even here on YouTube Shorts, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's going back to this real quick. There's sometimes I do reverse lunges, sometimes I do all these other different workouts. And that's after you've already established this as a base. Once you've been doing this workout at least 3 times a week for a month or 2 months, and then you start to, want a little more variety, then you can switch it up and add more things onto it, right? But this is the core four because these are the most essential movements. Don't be going to all these other fancy movements, right? That may look fun and are cool and have benefits, but when you're not even doing these four, right? Get these four down first. All right. So pillar two is nutrition. So I know there's a lot of text on this screen, but let's simplify it. 2 meals a day. You can do lunch and dinner or breakfast and dinner, whatever. You may be doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting isn't real fasting. It's more like time restricted eating, whatever. That's what I do. But a real fast is at least 24 hours, if not 36, 48 hours, whatever. But you're doing 2 meals a day, right? And you're eating meat, fruit, veggies. If you can tolerate dairy, you can also have dairy. If you don't eat it, whatever. And yeah, that's your diet. If you want to have a little bit of a cheat day, then on that day, you can implement OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, where you're still primarily eating beef, fruit, veggies. You're not eating you're not having a cheat meal, but maybe you have a cookie or maybe you have whatever little, sweet or dessert you like that's a cheat meal. Fine, you can have it on that day. Ideally, you don't do that at all. But if you do want to do that, there's a protocol for it. Okay? But 2 meals a day, meat, fruit, veggies, dairy if you tolerate it, and that's it. That's the diet, right? That's the diet. Counting calories is not necessary. The way to lose weight is to eat in a deficit, but the way to actually eat in a deficit, that's something you can maintain, is to eat natural foods, and then you will naturally lose weight up until you get to a healthy body weight. Okay, so that's the key here. That's the key here. Do not listen to these influencers telling you, "Oh, you can eat donuts or whatever. You can eat chips and donuts as long as it's within your macros." No, you can't. Right? No, you can't. Because what's going to happen is you're eventually going to overeat because it's addictive. So even if you know you're supposed to only eat these amount of calories, you're still going to overeat. All right. These foods are designed to make you, they're literally like these scientists do experiments in labs to try and make food more addictive, these processed food more addictive. So don't do that. If you want to have a donut or a cheat meal with your family or whatever, or a cheat little thing on the side, fine. You're doing 1 meal a day for that day. You plan it in advance. That's how you do it. But ideally, you don't do that at all. Right? You could call this extreme, but guess what? The results are extremely amazing. They're extremely beneficial to your life, your physique, and your health. Okay? Let people think you're weird, but then also think it's weird that you have an incredible physique, right? I think it's weird that people don't eat healthy. I think it's weird that people are eating processed junk, right? I think it's weird if you look at pictures from people 50 years ago and then look at people now, how much more obese and fat people are. I think that's weird. So, I mean, be weird and be healthy and look amazing. That's my way of looking at it. All right, lifestyle. This is all the stuff you already know. This is a selfie I took um, where I'm hiking in the mountains, and no, I don't live on this mountain. I wish I did. I wish I did. It's beautiful. I think this was in the state of Washington. Absolutely gorgeous. My regular walks aren't that pretty, but I still like to walk a few times a day when I can, and you should too if you can. I'm sure you've heard getting 10K steps a day in, and yes, that is good to do, but counting your steps, I'm not really big on it. I don't like counting calories. Counting your steps if you want to, it's fine, but I recommend just doing 2 walks a day that are 10 or 15 minutes. And guess what? If you want to make them longer, that's great. You want to do a 20 or 30-minute walk one day, an hour walk, fantastic. But if you don't have time for that, just do a 10 or 15-minute walk in the morning, evening, whenever you can, at lunch, whenever you can. And that will compound over time in a very positive way. Getting sunlight, that will also happen when you are going for your walk, so I don't have to worry about that. Doing mobility work. I'm not going to cover mobility work here, but you can do it as a warm up before your workouts. You can do it in between sets. If you go to my Instagram and see I post a bunch of mobility stuff. And so you can start doing that. Reverse lunges, just doing some air squats to warm up, sitting in a deep squat, doing halos. All right. If all that sounds confusing, then just you can Google it. all right, or I'll do other videos in the future. But you should be doing some mobility work so you can move your body, right? And then stress management, trying to reduce your stress. And sleep. I didn't even touch on that. Getting as much sleep as possible. If you have like a newborn, baby, that's probably not going to be possible. But even if you're a parent, as long as your kids are over, 7 or 8, you should be able to get enough sleep most nights. And the reason, there's always things that can come up once in a while. All right. So you can't always get perfect sleep. But the reason most people don't get enough sleep is because they are using their phone or watching some show, basically using a device right before bed. All right. Eliminate the device at least 2 hours before bed. That's at least 1 hour before bed, but 2 is even more ideal. And you're going to see how much better you sleep. Okay. So these habits really make a difference, especially if you're older, right? You can get away with not doing these things when you're 22 or 25, but if you're 45, you're 55, even in your 30s, man, you got to be doing this stuff. You have to be doing this stuff. All right. So why most people fail? They don't schedule their workout. I know I mentioned the workout should be about 30 minutes 3 times a week, but even if you only got 15 or 20 minutes, it doesn't have to be perfect. Still do it. That's still way better than nothing. It's still decent. Okay. Do them in the mornings 3 times a week. Just don't have junk food in your house. All right. Having junk food for guests or just in case is going to destroy you. Right. Now, another thing, if you have kids or you have your partner, they like to eat a certain way and you don't want to impose your way of eating on them, have a conversation with them. All right. So that way the food that's junk food can be in a container somewhere that you don't have access to, that your kids or your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever, has access to. Ideally, especially if you're a father, you should be getting your kids not to eat unhealthy, right? But that's for that's for another video. All right. But you have to get the junk food out of your house, or at least it's out of reach for you personally. Okay. Have a conversation with your family. If you live with them, most families are very supportive. And screen addiction is another thing. I know you guys probably aren't watching this video to talk about, to learn about screen addiction or hear another person yelling at you about it. But seriously, reduce your screen time. You're going to feel so much better. And doing the other habits like eating healthy and avoiding junk food will become much more natural for you. All right. So the success formula: train 3 times a week, eat whole foods, and 2 meals a day. If you were to do that just alone, you're at least going to get lean. I've never, ever, ever worked with somebody who stayed overweight and they ate clean 100% of the time. Never, ever, ever has that happened, ever. Not even once, right? Not even once. Don't get me wrong. A 55-year-old who eats clean, sure, he's not going to have the same physique as a 31-year-old who eats clean, right? We all age. That is a real factor. And hormones. That's all. That for sure. All that stuff is those things not implement. They can affect your life and your physique and all that. But every time I've had a client, whether he's 35, 55, or even 65, and he eats clean, they always get lean and lose weight and feel great and look way better. Right? Some of them have ripped six packs. Some of them, maybe their abs at the top are visible, and they're great and they're healthy, right? And they're not as shredded, but they're still lean. They still look good and all that stuff, right? So you guys already know all the stuff that I talked about in this video. You probably already know, right? You probably already know, but you're not doing it. Okay. So if you want to transform your body and your life, start doing the things I talked about, right? If you want to work with me one-on-one, I can help you implement my system to get you in the best shape of your life, right? There's some other things I didn't talk about on here that will really help you. And of course, you'll have me keep you accountable and develop a custom plan tailored to you. But honestly, I've already given you all the info. You have seriously, you have the information. You have to start doing it. And for the vast majority of you, it's getting rid of the junk food. Do not have it in your house. Talk with your family, your kids, your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whoever you need to. If you're a woman, obviously talk with whoever you live with too. But that's all you need. That is the key thing you need to do, right? So do that, change your life. or don't do that, struggle, and continue not being happy and being overweight. Choice is yours. I hope you make the right decision.